Enter madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. Attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste. Hello and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Thursday, January the 18th, 2024. My name is Cliff. I'm joined by the empty couch known as Aaron Armageddon. I'm sure he'll be in this chair in just a second. But there he is, cowboy hat and all. What's up, Aaron? Glad to have you. Motorhead shirt, I like that.
It's like one of my favorite shirts, man. It just fits good, man. It's like soft material.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're glad to have you all with us. We're going to get into some news and current events tonight. So if you would like the video, whatever platform we're watching it on, watch us on Rumble. We got links in the description for our X or our Twitter channel and our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to all of us, so if heaven forbid we're unable to reach you from your regular broadcast platform, we can reach you on another. And we want to keep this kind of build this community up, especially in the upper Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia area, kind of the place where all these stories that we look at are coming into a head. So we're going to kind of take a look at some of the stories that we've shown in the past and how they tie into some current event stories today. We also got a couple of fun things we want to look at before we get in. So, you know, one of the main things that we talked about in this channel is the World Economic Forum, and I think it was the 5th or 6th episode we did a deep dive into who the World Economic Forum is, what they represent, what kind of ideas they have, and what kind of plans that they are putting forth for. You know, that just seem to be, you know, we're just a place that discusses policy, you know, we don't have any real economic power, yet, you know, all the world leaders go there and basically bow down to them, except for, you know, Donald Trump basically told them they suck. And then this year we had Javier Milei of the newly elected anarchist president, or anarcho-capitalist, he calls himself, or I think something like that. He might be an ANCAP, or he just may be a straight-up anarchist. But he was elected president of Argentina and has immediately begun, at least according to initial reports, you know, from what it seems, draining the swamp of Argentina. And he went out to the World Economic Forum and basically told them all they're the problem. We're not going to watch the speech tonight because it's really long. I think it was about, well, it's not really long, but it's about 23 minutes, but I do encourage you to go watch it. Javier Milei of Argentina at the World Economic Forum. But I do have something for you tonight, and this is a video. It was funny. I was just thinking about showing y'all this video, and I was like, where did I find that? Because it was not Damon Imani that I saw that posted it, but it was a video that Kim.com shared on Twitter of Damon Imani speaking at the World Economic Forum. And let me fix this real quick so you make sure you can hear it, or it's not anywhere near as good. So have you seen any of this stuff out of the World Economic Forum yet, Aaron, coming out this year?
Yeah.
They're doing their annual meeting right now.
For sure. Yeah. Is it a multiple day event, or is it just a one day event?
Yeah, multiple days,
okay,
multiple speakers.
I thought so. Well, I watched the first day of it, and from what I gathered, they basically were just like attacking people that don't agree with them, you know, or they're positioning themselves to be victims. Does that make sense? When in reality, they're not.
Well, yeah, we're just
misinformation.
Yes,
it was all about misinformation.
Yeah, they deemed misinformation to be the number one threat to basically their democracy. They always say our democracy and things like this, and that's exactly what they mean, is their democracy. What's up, Dalton, in the chat? Glad to have you with us, brother. And I was waiting to
So,
see if
man,
you'd come around because I was going to show you Dalton tonight. You know, if you're interested, tonight's drink is a Tito's, a little bit of Tito's handmade vodka. Um, I, to me, though, I'll tell you, a decent vodka is just as good as a real expensive one. I've not had a real expensive one, but like
you know what the best
$1,500
vodka
vodka.
is?
Huh?
You know what the best vodka is?
What?
Vodka Moon.
I got some vodka moon
Wilbur
back here too. Oh,
Kill.
you can't see it. Trump's in the way there. What's up, Joe, in the chat? No, Tito's. Wilbur Kilby does make a delicious vodka moon. We've got some of that right here, and yeah, go. You can pick that up from Wilbur Kilb over at the East Tennessee Distillery. That's his special line. If you came on the channel to talk about it, it's pretty cool stuff. Definitely good. You got to be careful though when we drink it on the show. Okay, if I take me a drink of vodka here, I know what that's going to do to me. That stuff right there is almost as strong as vodka, but it tastes like Kool-Aid. So you got to be careful with it. But I
It's
definitely do think
easier
it's
to
pretty
knock
good.
it back.
Yeah. But I find with kind of regular vodkas or high end vodkas, they kind of, if it's a decent vodka, they all taste the same, and that kind of means they taste like nothing but straight alcohol. I mean, that's you
Rubbing
got
alcohol, yeah.
yeah, you got the real grainy ones, I guess, that like a Stolichnaya or a Smirnoff. I'm not a big fan of those. And I was tempted to try a potato vodka that I saw in the liquor store, but it was kind of too cheap. I was like, man, I don't want to really buy a $15 bottle of potato vodka. That seems like that could
Yeah.
go wrong in a lot of ways. I like at least get like a $25, $30 decent bottle of it because I feel like with something like Pinnacle, which is like $10 a bottle, I think it's pretty much as good as anything up to like a Grey Goose. But what do you think, Dalton? It's a beer and bourbon kind of night for you. You taste much difference in vodka? That tastes like nothing. Yeah, beer and
Back
bourbon's
when
always.
I always drink bourbon. I never was a vodka guy. I never liked it, but I love bourbon. Yeah, it was a shoo.
That's
You know,
bourbon's my drink of choice, but I do like a
vodka
vodka
not
too.
so much. Tequila, no man. That stuff does bad stuff to me, man. Like my genetics or something is just not built for tequila, man.
Right.
Because I
It's
get
the red hair,
wrecked. I
man.
get riggedy wrecked, you know. But
Uh,
I can drink Wild Turkey 101. You know, I used to polish that stuff off. You know, you saw it firsthand.
oh
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I could polish off some bourbon, but never, hardly ever would you catch me with vodka unless that was the only thing I had to drink. And then in that case, yeah, I would drink it. But generally, I like my bourbon. Yeah.
Well, let's take a look real quick at this fake video that Twitter. It's funny. I was thinking of showing it to y'all, and Twitter gave me a notification that this video had been community noted for to let us know that it was fake, as if you couldn't tell. But let's watch it anyway because it's a lot of fun.
And I appreciate the World Economic Forum providing me the opportunity to be on this stage and say, fuck you, Klaus Schwab, and fuck your New World Order. We, the people, were born free, we will stay free, and you and all of your globalist friends, including everyone in this room, can go fuck yourself. And I appreciate the...
So obviously that was fake. They didn't invite Damon Imani to speak at the World Economic Forum. But basically it was pretty much what Javier Milier did when he walked in there. He just did it a lot more diplomatically. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. The issue now with the whole WF and all that and Davos right now, the scary thing is they're admitting that they're losing. They're admitting that people don't like them. They're admitting that they aren't trusted. And so what are they going to do? They're admitting that they know they're going to lose. So what are they going to do? You know, something.
well,
They're going to do something.
Klaus has
They're
been
not going to
talking
go
for
without a
years
fight.
about the cyber polygon and the global cyber pandemic that will make COVID-19 pale in comparison. That seems to be the wet dream of these folks, is for everything to
Well,
basically
disease
crash
X,
down.
that's another large topic.
Yeah, that's
Davos
popping up
shares
too.
disease X. Yeah.
Yeah, about the same time COVID started popping up in 2020 as far as making the rounds in the news. There was a mystery illness going around in that fall. I had several friends and coworkers who fell ill, seriously ill, didn't test positive for any of the things that they were testing for. And it was funny because the one of us that got it and fared the easiest was the one, she was an older lady who smoked her whole life and smokes Pall Mall or L&D 100s, about 2 packs a day. She fared better than anybody who got it. And then later, we found out that, that had really been
nicotine does
circulating.
something.
Yeah, that's what I was
Nicotine
going to
does
say.
something too. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, my chiropractor asked me if how I fared during COVID, because she asked me if she was looking at information that showed that nicotine had an effect on COVID patients, and that people who were nicotine users were actually far less likely to have a bad time with it. And they were expecting the smokers. They were like, oh, it's going to kill off the smokers, but it didn't. It really didn't. It was mostly overweight people and people with heart issues. That
Well, they're not going to target smokers because smokers are already killing themselves, so they're going to target other people.
Yeah, true. That's
but it's crazy
but
how that works.
I was listening to, and I'm no medical expert, so don't listen to me on this, but I was listening to a podcast some or another, and they were talking about how nicotine was, your body does have, your brain does have nicotine receptors, or nicotine receptors, just like it has endocannabinoid receptors. Mm-hmm. And there's nicotine in lots of natural sources, like eggplants full of nicotine. So nicotine is something
Eggplant, you said?
Yeah. Wow. And from what I heard, now this is the part I don't know about. From what I've heard, that there was a certain chemical that started with a P. I can't remember the name of it. They added to tobacco they added it to the nicotine to actually make it more addictive, because nicotine in and of itself was not especially addictive. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that was...
Oh, no. Nicotine's the most addictive thing. I was always told it's the most addictive thing on earth.
Well, that's what they say, is that the natural form of it is not. That's why you don't get addicted to eggplants or other natural foods that have nicotine in them. And they say that probably you wouldn't even become addicted to tobacco, although you might become a habitual user, but you would not become addicted to it without the addition of this chemical. Now, I don't know the truth of that, so I won't talk about it anymore. But I do have this real quick. I'm going to show you a real quick clip of Javier Milier at the World Economic Forum.
Dude, that's so awesome.
It's about a minute long. The speech is 23 minutes. I do encourage you to watch the whole thing, but we're just not going to have time for all that here.
I had no idea he was there. That's crazy.
Yeah, so here it goes. Yeah, everybody accused him of being, because the World Economic Forum put him on their website as like a, global young leader. And a lot of people have been accused of having ties to the World Economic Forum because they've been put on there. But really, that's just...
Tulsi Gabbard?
Well, it's not even that they have anything to do with it. It's that the World Economic Forum chooses them as like, these are movers and shakers. These are people to watch. These are people we want to work with. So they feature them on the website. It's not that those people are necessarily affiliated with the World Economic Forum. And some people, I think Vivek Ramaswamy was the most recent, have sued to have their name taken off of the website. So it doesn't necessarily mean there's a connection, but this guy was having that accusation thrown at him because he had been on the website that he was a stooge for the World Economic Forum, and it remains to be seen. But he has started off really slashing the government in Argentina. So let's watch this video right here. This is just a minute long, so get you real quick. I think you're going to have subtitles. I believe that's the one I shared.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Hoy estoy acá
Today I'm here
para decirles que Occidente
to tell you that the Western world is in danger.
está en peligro porque
And it
aquellos que
is
supuestamente
endangered
deben defender
because
los
those
valores
who
de
are
Occidente
supposed to have to
se
defend the
encuentran
values of the
amenazados
West
por una visión del
are
mundo
co-opted by a
inexorablemente conduce al
vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism and thereby to poverty.
Lamentablemente,
Unfortunately,
en las últimas décadas,
in recent decades,
motivados por algunos deseos
motivated
impulsantes de
by
querer
some
ayudar al
well-meaning
prójimo y otros por el deseo de
individuals
pertenecer a una
willing
casta
to help
privilegiada,
others, and others motivated by the wish to belong to a privileged caste, the main leaders of the Western world have abandoned the model of freedom for different versions of what we call collectivism. We're here to tell you that collectivist experiments are never the solution to the problems that afflict the citizens of the world. Rather, they are the root cause. Do believe me, no one better placed than us, Argentines, to testify to these 2 points.
So, Basically, he's calling them out for collectivism. A lot of there's been some argument over whether the World Economic Forum, they're not a communist organization. They believe in free enterprise. No, they basically believe in all basically the movers and shakers, the rich and the powerful, governments, private interests alike, all getting together to have a plan to control the world. Because basically they think that with the advent of all the new technology that's coming out. You can go back over 20 years ago to the Wired.com article from 1999, Why the Future Doesn't Need Us. If you really want to see how far back this idea goes, and the whole thing is, there's another industrial revolution coming where the human worker is going to be replaced by AI. We've already replaced a lot of the manual labor with robots, and that's going to continue to expand. But they say we're also going to be replacing a lot of human beings in jobs like office roles and things like this. And there's going to be a lot of what the World Economic Forum calls useless people or useless eaters, or basically just people with nothing to do and no reason to exist because there's no job for them to do. There's no function for them in the society because they plan to control everything and provide us with everything. And basically they just want to keep us out of the way, make sure we can never really achieve any true political power in order to mess with their goals. And you know, they can't really just call for killing us all. So what they do is they say, well, we're going to make sure that you have a universal basic income, and we're going to make sure that you're a good person with your social credit score before you're able to use that. And we're going to see in a couple of these stories that I'm looking at why all this is coming to your area. It's here already. The infrastructure that they need to put this in place and have a social credit system, whether you want to call it Chinese communist or collectivist, whatever you want to call it, basically whenever they decide that your money is all digital and that it has to be approved by the government in order for you to get it, all the infrastructure is in place to stop you from being able to spend money, stop you from being able to travel, stop you to being able to do anything unless you comply. So
it's the mark of the beast, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it does need to tick a lot of the boxes for that. And we've talked in just to set the stage for this, we've talked from the beginning of the channel, the very first episode, we talked about the smart poles in Johnson City, Tennessee, and how these things are going to be basically turned on us, in my opinion. And how it's in federal documents from the Obama administration, and it's from 2013 and 2015, how they want us to all go to smart cities, and they're offering federal funding for this because this gives the federal government a way to be involved in all of our local decisions because they are funding the infrastructure that the local government is running for flood control, traffic control, parking, crime, all this different stuff, right? They're funding this, so they have a say in it. That's how they've gotten the federal government into everything we're doing already. Do what?
Yeah. And then if you don't do that, and if the local officials don't do vote or do what they want, enforce their rules, then they're going to lose their funding. Then they're going to punish them.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, this book, man, I got the Alex Jones' Great Reset, and this book goes over a lot of what we're just talking about and lays it all out in like pretty graphic detail. So and it's all got facts and stuff in it too. I've not even had time to finish it, man. I've got so many books, but I'll try to read when I can. But you know how it is.
Well, I'm going to show you two stories tonight in our local area, in the Tri-Cities area, that have that are some of these implications. This is going to show you these things are creeping in already. So first, we got what looks like, your story of small town corruption, right? Kind of looks like at the head, I don't want the video. I want the news story. Let's see. There we go. Now, I got to give credit where credit's due to Jeff Keeling at WJHL. He did a great job on this article. Jeff and I have gone around a couple times over because Jeff's a numbers guy. He's really smart. He works for WJHL. We went around and around over the numbers of his interpretation of the numbers of the COVID data, which I felt was artificially inflating the numbers to make them look more dire than they were. Now, I don't think Jeff necessarily is nefarious. I think Jeff is somebody who puts unless he sees proof that somebody of authority is lying or something like this, he's going to assume that this data is correct. He's going to assume that he can trust it, right? So I don't necessarily fault him, even though I disagreed with him. I told him so. He and I argued about it quite a bit. But I got to give him credit for this article because it's a very well written, and honestly, since COVID and since Trump has been out of office, WJHL, their actual print publication that they, well, I don't, not call it print, but their typed out publication has been really good. Their television news publication, their sources are super short. They just give you the very basic info. But again, hats off to Jeff Keeling and the WJHL team for their
Oh,
reporting on the Sean Williams case and on this one. They've done a really good job holding the local authorities accountable. That's what the news is supposed to be for. So, I started this channel calling out WJHL in particular for a lot of their stories, and I still have some of those criticisms because I don't feel like they focus on key parts that are very important, and that may be by design as they're owned by Nexstar. But that's neither here nor there because we're going to look at this story. The local judge, Perry Stout from Johnson County, he and his wife are charged with money laundering and drug conspiracy. Now, Aaron was telling me that, and I had missed this story, there was a judge that had a DUI arrest in Kingsport last week. This one, we've got a judge, Johnson County judge, he resigned, but it says he plans to run again. He's been charged with money laundering, possession of a weapon during commission of a dangerous felony, conspiracy to possess with intent to sell or deliver Schedule 6 drugs, maintaining a dwelling for the sale or use of narcotics. Now, as far as the money laundering goes, now this guy, if they didn't say and get into this in the news story on the television, but this guy basically started with $1,500 initial investment for a marijuana buy for a man that has not been identified. The man was, probably sent to set him up. We'll just have to see. Or this man, this man got busted and was like, then set up a judge. Either way. But this guy, they don't identify him. And they say that the cops were dispatched to a rented house that Perry Stout rented because the owner reported to the police she had found drugs there. And they go in and they found a bunch of different strains of marijuana, and it appeared to be a stash house or a trap house. Well, guess it. Here's okay. We'll get into the rest of the story at another time because I'm wondering, who was this judge? Was he somebody who was, was he just a dirty judge that somebody took out? Was he a target of something because he was, we don't know any of that. All we know is he's been charged with it this time. But get this. Here's the key part. Brown wrote that after seeing doorbell cameras for that house and another Mountain City house the man was renting from the same owner, he got a search warrant from Google. Video that came back included large store-like counters filled with what appeared to be marijuana, THC products, including vapor cartridges and smoking paraphernalia. Also revealed in the seized video footage, Brown wrote, was significant portions of video suggesting a close personal relationship between the man and then Judge Stout. The video included multiple pictures with either both men or Stout alone.
So did it say he had display cases? Is that what you said?
He rented this place. The Google doorbell camera, they sent a search warrant, the local authorities did, to Google, got the video from the doorbell camera and put him at the scene of this place where they'd found this stuff, and also put the contraband at the place. Also with him renting it, that kind of ties him down if we can believe the story there, which who knows. I was unable to find much about this judge in the limited amount of time since this story broke, and I was able to do a little research. I found where he was. This was the Mountain City Tomahawk. Let me find it real quick.
Well, it sounds like he was trying to open a shop up. You
Yeah,
see
he
what I'm
was.
saying?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and it might have been
But
all
the way
legal
they've
too.
worded it,
Yeah.
makes
They
it
never
sound-
mention one. This guy.
he's
go ahead,
pissed
Aaron.
somebody off.
Go ahead, Aaron. Because I want to change. I want to share this story right here.
And I'm saying it just sounded like he's pissed somebody off. I was just agreeing with you. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, you have to wonder because it is
You
one
can't have a
cannabis.
shop if it's not legal.
There's CBD. There's all different kinds of it that is legal. Was he, in the process of filing patents? Did he have anything filed? None of that's mentioned. But like I said, Jeff did a good job getting the info and putting all the info that I think he was able to get into this article. If you read it, it's a really long, it'll take you, not really long, but it'll take you about 10 minutes to read it.
It sounds to me like he was trying to open a store, like a legal dispensary, but the way it was worded, it did kind of make it sound like he was like making fentanyl or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'll tell you another thing that's kind of fishy too, that seems that, I don't know if it smells like setup or just dirty judge, but either way, I think it's a key part. The man who's been unidentified, I guess because he's a cooperating witness, basically said he was working on Perry's house, and then Perry asked him if there was any money in marijuana, and he says in here that they had a recorded phone call that says that the judge understood that they intended to sell it illegally. So I don't know. He said that the guy bought them in Michigan and he intended to sell it illegally. So they basically got into all their phone records, all their text messages, and got all this. So here's a where's the part that I thought was interesting is that they said he gave a $1,500 initial investment and allowed the man to, make his money off of it too and put his money back into it. And they said Stout only took any money out of the investment. He pulled it out and he could put it back in whenever. Only pulled it out once or twice during that time in 2022, and he advised that was for Perry to fund his General Sessions judge campaign to buy signs and make donations. So this man that we don't know his name is alleging that the judge told him that he was taking his money out of his marijuana operation to buy signs and make donations. So,
this is one of those situations where I want to hear what the judge has to say.
Well, I've got this the only story that I could find. I was trying to find this guy's record, right? And because I was interested to see, is this guy somebody who's really tough on potheads or something? And, is he a big hypocrite? Is that what's happening? We don't really know. But here's what I was able to find so far. This is from the Tomahawk. This was a story it's about Mountain City it's a paper from Mountain City where the judge lives or where he serves in Johnson County. They're talking about updating from a part-time judge that Stout had to a full-time judge, and it would cost him $20,000 more a year in judge pay. But the Stout said that the public would save more than $116,000 in resources, so because people didn't have to wait and it could speed up the judicial process if he was full-time and all this. Well, anyway, we go down a little bit. He's talking about then one of the main things that he thinks is important to him is wealth-based bonding and cash bail, which is basically holding poor people in jail until their trial date, even longer sometimes than the sentence would be if they were convicted for it, just to get in a court date. And he doesn't think that was right, and he said that, let's read his quote here. He explained that it takes 18 to 24 months to be seen in Johnson County's juvenile court and called it very similar to the Hamlin case. In wealth-based bonding cases, those accused of committing minor crimes are kept behind bars because they cannot pay bail. In these types of situations, defendants are often locked up longer than the crime's actual sentence because of bond hearing delays. For example, public intoxication has maximum sentence of 30 days in prison and a fine. But if you were, poor or something and you couldn't afford to pay the bail to get out, you could actually end up in jail waiting on a court date for longer than 30 days. So I think that's bullshit, and I don't know if this judge is any good or not, but that's the only thing I could find about him so far. So this doesn't seem like the guy who's going to be hard on crime, at least like, petty pot, possession and stuff like that. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens as this case develops. But like Aaron said, I'd be interested here as a judge. But I wanted you to focus on the fact that our local authorities in Johnson County used a search warrant to obtain video from a private citizen's Ring doorbell. Okay, so you think about that. If you're doing anything that could potentially be incriminating, which includes things that are perfectly within your rights as a U.S. citizen, that the government could at a later time pull your video doorbell and use to convict you of a crime. Now, we've seen they'll use it for the fact that they can use it for good means that they can use it for bad. And right now what we have is, if you look at January 6th and the way that these people are being treated by the federal government, we've got, and even with the Department of Justice declaring Trump supporters, who was, you know, half the country or more, to be terrorists, as well as people who attend school board meetings. You know, so we're definitely on those lists, people. But the thing is, they're already floating those as crimes right now, right? So you're saying, oh, I don't have to worry about them using my video doorbell against me because I don't have anything to hide. Well, that's the thing. You don't have anything to hide, but they will change, and they are already in the process of starting it at the federal level, and everything filters down from there. That what is a crime, right? To commit, to be something that you're already doing that's well within your rights. We're seeing it already. Now, the next story I want to show you, we've been keeping up with the Sean Williams story out of Johnson City. Aaron has a, he's been around this one for a while, but we're going to look at the Sean Williams story. This is, and again, this is from WJHL. They did a good job. This is Jeff Keeling also. He's really getting into a lot of the meat and potatoes, but I'll tell you what part I think he missed. And if you read this article, it got Johnson City Turner filed to dismiss Cat Dahl lawsuit, and that's predictable. Cat Dahl was a former federal employee who was working with the Johnson City Police Department, and her job was essentially to see if we could add more charges to offenders by charging them federally for crimes if they're already, being in the Johnson City justice system, the Tennessee justice system. Her job was to be a liaison between them and the Department of Justice and find ways to try them for federal crimes. So she's in here doing her job, and the city of Johnson City says that they fired her because she was, or they didn't really fire her because the whole part of this lawsuit is whether or not she was an employee, right? Because she works for the feds. But they basically said they didn't want her working with them anymore, and they claimed it was because she did not file the indictments that she said she was going to, which I think were 5 indictments or something. And during the same time, she also pressed the Johnson City Police Department to look more into Sean Williams because there were a lot of rape charges against him that were not being investigated. The rape kits were not being tested, and it was like police were sitting on his hands. And now there is a lawsuit from the victims against the Johnson City Police Department alleging that they were bribed by Sean Williams in order to cover up what he was doing, which involved hurting women and children, filming it, distributing it. He was charged with trafficking of
youngest victim was 2 years old.
Yes, so
disgusting.
And this is a monster here, folks. And so this alleged
maybe
lawsuit,
he'll get Jeffrey Epstein.
This lawsuit alleges, and yeah, we've talked about the connections between, maybe he's a local Jeffrey Epstein. The lawsuit alleges that he paid off hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash to these local cops to cover this stuff up. But for the nature of his crimes, I feel like it had to be more than cash. I feel like he had to have dirt on these people in some way. There was a lot of video recovered from his apartment. We don't know what was on it. Didn't a lady jump out of his apartment to escape him from the second floor? Or something? Yeah, fell.
No, I'm sorry. She doesn't remember. She fell like 4. She's lucky she's alive. Bless her heart. But yeah, she was somehow she fell out of the window, or someone shoved her. Who knows? I think that maybe they were hanging out and maybe had I don't know what the deal
partying
was.
And stuff. And
but I know, when I had my severe brain trauma, it was like it wipes like parts of your memory. It's crazy.
Well,
yeah, I had 3 brain aneurysms at once, and it's weird how it does it to your memory. Recollection of things and odd.
Well, so Sean Williams was basically being charged with a felon in possession of ammunition case, and Cat Dahl, the federal prosecutor, was brought in to see if they could, what they could do as far as charging him federally with this, and she started pushing for having him investigated for these sexual assault crimes, which were evidently not being looked at. Now, Chief Turner, remember, he resigned in disgrace, even though they tried not to frame it as such. After when this started happening, he took, early retirement, as well as several higher ups in the Johnson City Police Department. And then all this stuff kind of blowing over. I said, oh, well, we know what's happening. We know what's coming there. Something big is about to come up. So anyway, Kat Dahl, she was pushing them to investigate her. Her civil suit is if she was fired for that. And they're aiming, the city's, of course, trying to dismiss it, which would be, that's the first legal step in it, is try to dismiss it. You don't want to fight the case if you don't have to. So that's to be expected. We'll see what the judge says. But the part that I think is important in this story that I want to bring to your attention, her civil suit charges Johnson City with violating the Tennessee Public Protection Act by allegedly firing her in retaliation for insistence that JCPD look into Williams. A recent amendment also claims the city violated the National Defense Authorization Act, citing a federally funded poll camera that was trained on a garage owned by Williams. Now, what federal funded poll camera could that be? Could that be a smart poll? So let's look right down here. Now this is a bad guy that they're looking at this thing with, right? And that's how they always do this stuff. They always give you a bad guy. But this is not something that Johnson City was trying to make public. This probably would have not really come out if it weren't for being added to Kat Dahl's lawsuit. Now remember, the smart poles in Johnson City, we were talking about the federal funding of this smart city infrastructure. These things, and it's happening all over the country, came from a grant by the TVA, which is a federal-owned organization, a federally owned private corporation, right? Owned by the federal government. So it has a lot of the power, most of the power of the federal government, and very few of the restrictions of the federal government because they are a private company. So they funded these polls in exchange for the data that these polls collect. Now we're seeing, I don't know for sure that this was one of these smart polls, but it was Sean Williams's garage is right there where Founders Park is, or King Commons is. It's like kind of in the corner between Kings Common and Founders Park where all the smart poles that they started out with were set up. Now, they've likely expanded that to the rest of the city, but we don't know for sure. And if you haven't kept up with this, these smart poles are equipped with a variety of sensors, cameras, microphones, Wi-Fi, all kinds of different stuff to keep track of who and what is going on in Johnson City. So you've got smart cameras, you've got the smart poles these are collecting your Wi-Fi data. They're collecting a video, a high definition 360 video that can focus in on certain places. They can run all different kinds of software to analyze who you are, run your facial recognition, gait recognition, see who you're talking to. Everything that your cell phone is doing when it connects to the Wi-Fi while you walk by it is going to be picked up by those routers in them, and everything is going to be sent. Some of it's going to be encrypted, but it's all going to be sent to the TVA in exchange for giving these cameras. Now, they put these things on there, and one of the things they said they were going to do was use them to stop crime. We had a public meeting about all the homeless around, and then they're like, oh well, there's not really anything we can do about it. And then like the next month, it's like, oh, we're going to have smart poles to stop crime, and you get really into it, and that was one of the criticisms I had of WJHL. They don't really go into what all this entails and anything. I mean, I can appreciate just the facts, man, but it's like at some point
those smart poles are going to turn into the poles they have in England. It's for the fining. They tried that stuff here too. I mean, people were not having it. But see, that's the thing. We have to make sure we keep pressure on our officials to not let that happen here. It's a dystopian nightmare. Nobody wants that. Basically, if you're not in an electric car, when you go by the cameras in England, they take a picture of your tags, because in England, they make you have them on the front and the back of your car. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but I love, and I'm seeing this, people there are cutting them down left and right, man. I don't know how many videos I've seen of people cutting those poles down. But it's really good. You were definitely ahead of the curve on the whole smart poles, because it is coming to fruition, brother, right now as we speak, and it's going to keep getting worse. It's going to turn into what it is in England. But if we have to keep the fire under the feet of our officials to not let this dystopian nightmare come to our home.
So let me give you a quick rundown for those who maybe weren't paying attention, just tuning in. So let's look at a quick rundown locally of what we have in Kingsport and Elizabeth, and we have Flock security cameras. Now, cops already have devices that they can point at your license plate and see what car it's supposed to be. It'll scan it and tell them, okay, this is the car, the correct car. This person has warrants, right? They already have that. This is something totally different. These cameras see when you go through. They keep a record of everybody coming and going through the intersections in town all the time. Not just your license plate, but your car type, dents, dings, roof racks, bumpers, stickers. And they say they don't look at the people inside, but yeah, right. If they look at all that other stuff, they can look at your bumper stickers. They can definitely look at you. All right, these things are connected to a network of Flock security cameras in 42 states in over 2,000 cities. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. Let's go look in Johnson City. We've got smart poles. We've got those popping up in, I think, Weber City, too. Tim sent me an article. It was a city in Southwest Virginia that's also going to have them. We've got in the Ring doorbell cameras that the local law enforcement can pull your video off of. We've got these smart poles looking down into your shop in some cases. They could look into your windows. There's all different kinds of implications for this. So let's just say, now remember, the federal government's funding these initiatives, right? The federal government who calls Trump supporters, school board parents, terrorists, right? They've called you terrorists. They've arrested a bunch of people at January 6th who didn't even go into the building. Right? Who didn't even engage in any violence, who were just around, who didn't tell anybody to go in, all this stuff. They've arrested them and charged them as insurrectionists. Now, I don't think anybody's actually been charged with insurrection, but, they've not charged anybody for leaving those explosive devices at the RNC and DNC that day. And that's pretty weird, right? But anyway, this federal government who's calling normal people like you and I know, like my uncle who we're going to have on the show to talk about his experience with January 6th. These are the people they're calling terrorists, right? The federal government that's funding all these smart initiatives that we are taking in our local cities and towns that are all connected and work together and set up a net for you that you cannot escape, because there will be a camera everywhere that's all talking to one another that goes straight to the local authorities that are under control of the feds, right? So this is what is coming, and it's all part of the everything that you hear, the crazy stuff you hear from the feds, like, oh, you can't use a gas stove, or you can't drive a gas car, you got to drive electric cars, and you got to have only so much, meat or whatever, all this crazy stuff. That's what they want to be actual policy, and that's what they're going to use to enforce it. And it's not going to be that they're going to come to your house and take you away from eating a steak. It's going to be when you go to the grocery store and you swipe your fucking card, it's going to say declined. And the person who reads the card is not going to know why. They're just going to know, I can't sell you any food. Too bad. I'm sorry. I wish I could.
Yeah, it's all going to tie in with the mark of the beast system.
So that's what it's going for. It's a soft tyranny, right? It's to change your behavior a slight bit, a little bit at a time, until you walk your way right into the digital prison that they've built around us. I've been telling you, they've been building it around us for years. The motherfucker's built. Once they go operational with it, it's built. It's here. It's everywhere.
So with the autonomous tag readers, so THP. So THP has those, but local officers don't have the autonomous tag, those tag readers, but THP does. So the Highway Patrol has them. Yeah, Highway Patrol definitely does. But now maybe in larger cities, like Atlanta, Charlotte, I can find out.
Carter County Sheriff's Department definitely has some, because a friend of mine got pulled over, and because there was a mix-up with his tag at the courthouse, and they pulled him over and asked him why he had the wrong tag on. And they were like, he said he passed them at a red light and went by him, and they whipped around immediately. So he said whatever they did it really quickly and knew that he had the wrong tag on that car and pulled him over.
Did he have warrants or anything?
No, nothing like that. It was just they scanned the tag as he went by, and he was driving, let's just say, a Toyota Camry, and it showed up for a Nissan Pathfinder. Right, and they pulled him over, like, dude, why does your tag register for Pathfinder? And he's like, man, you knew that pretty quick. And they're like, yeah, we have.
Well, I will say this, and I probably shouldn't say this because, actually, I'm not going to say it. But yeah, let's just say I had a school bus, and I traded the school bus for a Camaro, and the tags were, I had to do them online, and I ran up and down the strip, in the Camaro with the school bus tags, but I had changed it online. You can change
Yeah.
them online, like switch it over and all that. But I'm just saying, if they had those autonomous reader things, they would have definitely known my Camaro was not a school bus.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well, if
Like
they aimed
for
it at you, yeah.
sure. Yeah, they
Yep.
would have known for sure because they sit in the median and then they scan.
Yeah.
But maybe the traffic is so thick that they just. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and
They're
maybe,
supposed to
and
be
I'm
able to
sure
read.
everybody doesn't have them. Let's catch back up in the chat. We're going to get out of here for tonight because I think I've made my point, and this one is going to be a brief show. Jalton was in here. Joe says he keeps away from the clear liquors. Yeah, that's respectable. They don't have much taste either. Dalton says he thinks with vodka the quality isn't as noticeable in the taste, but how it can affect hungover you are the next day. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Bottom shelf dirt cheap vodka will make you feel worse than a medium price vodka like Smirnoff or Tito's. Yeah, I can. That's how it is with wine. Like cheap wine's still pretty good, but it's like got a lot of impurities in it. Can make you feel pretty bad. And Dalton says, which is obvious, but taste-wise, vodka doesn't vary as much compared to bourbon or rum. I feel like you're paying more for the effects some of the time with vodka. Yeah, I'm like I said, I like Pinnacle, pretty good. It's cheap. It's like not bottom shelf or anything. It's like I don't know, $13 a fifth or something like that. And I've never had. Of course, I don't really get drunk either, except when I'm drinking fucking vodka Moon. For some reason,
Old Wilbur's moonshine gets you tore up.
yeah, I lose it when I drink that stuff because it's just way stronger than you think. But you know, I very rarely, you know, have more than say a drink an hour. You know.
I'm proud of myself, man. You know, I've not even had a beer in which I have nothing against drink. I'm gonna say that if if you can drink responsibly, that's cool. I can't. You know what I mean? I don't want to have a shot, dude.
Yeah, it's good that you recognize that you can't.
Yeah, so I just don't drink anything. I've literally not even had a beer in over 2 years. You know, I definitely feel better. But like I said, if you're responsible and you're not like a baboon or an orangutan, because I'm a redhead, I guess I'd be an orangutan. Yeah, if you're not a wild orangutan like me, you can like moderately, but like once I get a couple shots in me, I want it all. You know what I mean? I don't want to like all or none, all or none. So I choose none.
Well,
I don't do stupid.
That's probably a good decision.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, honestly, it's never a bad decision to not drink. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, even in the best case scenario, you're probably better off if you don't have a drink. But it is something I enjoy, and like I said, all things in moderation. If you can do it responsibly, but it's good. It's good to recognize your limits, and you know, there's certain things that I don't do because I recognize that it's outside of my limits. But anyway, thank you for everybody for tuning in tonight on YouTube, on Twitter. If you're watching us later on Rumble, we appreciate you. Be sure and subscribe on all the platforms. Subscribe to Aaron on YouTube on the Armageddon Hour. Keep up with his bear videos and Mark of the Beast updates and all this, all the stuff Aaron's been doing. He's got a lot of good stuff over there. Got a lot of good time.
Been doing bug out bags too. So
yeah, he's been doing bug out bags. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, tonight's show was really good. It all tied in together. The WEF and the Davos Forum, it all ties into the smart polls, you know, and it really shows you that what they're doing there is reaching its tentacles into our local communities through these kinds of funded things, and how important it is to really keep an eye on it. And you know, and they come as wolves in sheep's clothing, and like, you know, they sell it to you as convenient. Oh, well, you get Wi-Fi everywhere you go. It's like, well, I have a cell phone. I'm in the middle of the city. I don't need Wi-Fi. You know what I mean?
And it sucks with everybody sharing it.
It'll turn into England, man. It'll turn into England, and they'll tax the piss out of us every way they can.
And England is just on its way to, you know, communist Chinese, you know.
Oh yeah, dude, and they're getting pissed though. They're cutting those poles down left and right, and I'm glad to see that, honestly. And
it's like, man, you British, you guys better fucking wake up. You guys used to rule the world, and now you're getting run off of your own island.
They're cutting the poles down. You know, it's not just a traffic camera ticket. We're talking, it taxes you when you go by if you're in a gas car. And the importance of fighting this is they want to do away with all gas cars.
Yep.
But how many Teslas did you see on the side of the road when the cold weather hits? Those batteries can't handle it.
Hertz Rent-A-Car is selling all their Teslas off.
Yeah, I mean, they're stranded. I saw videos of them. The electric cars are just not. The tech's not there. the resources aren't there. The cobalt, you have to have this cobalt mining, and but yeah,
They're
everything
super cool,
kinda
but give
ties
me a good old gasoline engine.
Yeah, everything they're doing up there is going to affect us down here. But like I said, what are they going to do to keep the control?
Yeah.
And and I don't know. Part of me, I hate to say this, but before the tribulations began, the Antichrist, or I'm sorry, pre-trib. So we're waiting for the Antichrist to kind of show up, but it's kind of scary because Trump's going to bring the peace, or maybe Trump already brought the 3 years of peace, but regardless, it kind of made me question if Trump was even possibly the Antichrist, but I don't think that's,
Well,
he's
if he wins
hated.
president again, you could say he was wounded and came back, couldn't you?
Well, not really that, as more so for me is it's just, he's hated by so many, and the Antichrist is going to do wonders and all this stuff, but it kind of scares me because it's like, okay, if it's not Trump, then what's going to happen to Trump to make the way for the Antichrist? Because the systems here, we've been talking about with the polls, it's all going to tie in together, man. They want to get, like they say, what's his name? The Nova Harari. He talks about how they're going to get under our skin, and how things like voting are not going to do that. We're not going to have that anymore. You'll have nothing and like it.
Yep. All right, people.
It's scary, man.
It sure is. Everybody be sure to tune in to Aaron, subscribe to him on YouTube and on Twitter, and be sure and tune in with us this Sunday. We're going to get into, I don't know yet. Let's keep it a surprise. I've got a few things cooking. I got some metaphysical stuff. I got some ancient history stuff. I got some, modern technocratic conspiracy stuff. I'm not sure what we're going to do just yet. But we will see you this Sunday at 10 p.m. live, and then back Thursday with Aaron in Scottsville over next Thursday. So appreciate you joining us. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye, folks.